Green morning, green afternoon, green evening, wherever you are world over. We extend a very warm welcome to all our brothers and sisters across the world. Today is a wonderful day. It's a World Youth Skills Day. And today is the 7th celebration of the World Youth Skills Day. That's a Thursday, 15th of July, 2021. During this pandemic, we all are having a lot of challenges. But in spite of all that, things are moving ahead. And the theme today is Reimagining Youth Skills Post-Pandemic. So ladies and gentlemen, let's roll in. I'm 7 minutes late. My sincere apologies. And International Chamber for Service Industry extends a very warm welcome and hearty welcome to all of you on 15th of July, 2021. Now, this is very important slide I wish to share with all of you. Today on the 7th World Youth Skills Day, we have done 7 webinars since morning, and this is the last and the 7th webinar. And what is the key highlights we have been doing? Of course, we extend a very warm welcome because this evening is dedicated to all Indian diaspora world over, and our Honorable Chairman of the All India Council for Technical Education, Professor Anil Sahasrabuddhe, and Honorable Chairman of the NCVET, National Council for Vocational Education and Training, Dr. N.S. Kalsiji, and of course, all the brothers and sisters across the world, those are joining. Of course, in India, young boys, girls, children, teachers, educators, counselors, professors, whosoever is joining this particular program, wherever you are. Today, we are having a very eminent non-resident Indian who is a recipient of the year 2020, India's second highest civilian award from the Honorable Prime Minister of India. That's a Padma Bhushan from Government of India in Literature and Education. We extend a very warm welcome to Dr. Jagdish N. Sheth, and ladies and gentlemen, of course, my advisor, Professor Vivek Shankar Natarajan, Professor of Marketing, Lama University is also there. Once again, we extend a very warm welcome and a hearty welcome to all of you. Thank you very much for joining. When I learned this evening with a pleasure that Professor Anil Sahasrabuddhe is in the flight, he is landing down, and the only thing is, that was a t-shirt and this is a shirt. There he was holding a racket and over here he's holding a mic. That is the difference, because it was an Aviation Games India t-shirt which I saw on his the WhatsApp profile. And Dr. N.S. Kalsiji also, great congratulations to you. Today the MOU has been signed between NCVET and the Ministry of IT and Electronics for the National Digital Locker. That's something remarkable which is being done. Great congratulations and celebrations. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to share with all of you, since morning we are holding a contest. People are posting. We have got about 73,000 people post since morning. And now also people, those are joining us. And in a great numbers, we make a request to you, because this is going to be the final round and we got to work it out. We will be shortlisting 3 people from the entire participation of the day. And what we are going to do, the winner of the day, the winner of the morning, afternoon and evening, finally, whosoever is the winner, our advisor for the ICSI in United States, Professor Vivek Shankar Natarajan, will announce the name, and that person will get a scholarship to do MBA in United States from our chamber. And we will get the blessings of Professor Dr. Jagdish N. Sheth. So with these words, hearty welcome to all of you. Those are joining us. Keep posting your views. Keep sharing your views with all of us. And I would request, because higher education, school education, technical education, vocational education, theme address will come from Professor Jagdish N. Sheth with the permission of the higher education, that is Professor Anil Sahasrabuddhe. Because you dedicated your entire life in the northeast part of India, I know. And I'm a soldier, last 40 years with the northeast. Can I, with your permission, get into the arena of the school education and vocational education and request Dr. N.S. Kalsi to say a few words. And thereafter, we come to Professor Anil Sastrbuddeji, and then we will go for the theme address. If you permit, all of you, then I would like to make a humble request on that, sir.
Sure.
Thank you.
Perfectly.
So the node is given, and I would request Dr. N.S. Kalsiji kindly take on, and first of all, heartiest congratulations for the new MOU, what you have signed today. All the PAN cards and passports and mark sheet and the degrees and the certificates, everything to it digitally locked. Okay, let's get into school education and vocationals. Dr. N.S. Kalsiji.
Thank you, Dr. Gulshan Sharma ji. Thank you so very much. At the outset, I would like to convey my sincere gratitude to have given me this opportunity to share my views. First of all, I would like to facilitate Professor Jagdish N. Sheth ji.
Thank you.
Sir, you have really made this platform worthwhile by joining the platform and addressing the gathering today. Also, Professor Anil Sastrbuddeji and Professor Vivek Natarajan ji, welcome you all. Now, all of us, we have celebrated this momentous occasion of the World Youth Skills Day. Since morning, the programs were going on, and the Ministry of Skills was into it. Since morning, we organized a number of programs. Now, launched by Honorable Prime Minister on the 15th July 1915. Today, the Skill India mission, it has gathered tremendous momentum. Now, under this mission, the Government of India has been able to successfully create the necessary institutional framework and infrastructure in vocational education, training for large-scale skilling, reskilling, upskilling of our aspirational youth. Now, if I just look at the total infrastructure, there are 71 awarding bodies, more than 150 assessment agencies, 14,500 ITIs, both government and private, about 3,000 are government and rest are the private. And there are training providers with the NSDC. 686 training providers have been registered. There are more than 9,800 training centers operating across the country. Similarly, if I look at the total number of trainees, more than 1.24 crore trainees have been trained. Only in ITI system alone, more than 35 lakh trainees have been trained. There are almost 42,000 trainers who have been certified. Similarly, more than 11,000 assessors who have been certified. And NCVET has actually developed the qualification curricula framework for number of qualifications. Now, let me first share that the National Council for Vocational Education and Training, it has been established by government as an overarching unified regulator. Now, it has the prime responsibility of quality assurance and continuous improvement across the skill development ecosystem. Now, what they have done, they have taken the NCVT, the erstwhile NCVT, the National Council for Vocational Training. Similarly, some function of some functions of NSDC, the regulatory functions of NSDC, I would say, and NSDA, National Skill Development Agency. Now, these have been merged together, and that's how they have created this new body with overall unified regulatory powers. Now, since its operationalization in August 2020, NCVT has already developed and launched very effective guidelines and SOPs for recognition and regulation of awarding bodies and assessment agencies, uh, while ensuring transparency and accountability. Now we are in the process of now getting these applications from awarding bodies and assessment agencies, and we are into now review of these applications. Within next 30 days or so, we will be issuing them the status. Will be recognizing them and giving them the status of awarding bodies and assessment agencies. Now NCVT is working very closely with 37 sector skill councils, more than 21 central ministries, and all the state governments on the qualifications for both the existing as well as the new skills. And till date, NCVT has approved 4,354 industry validated qualifications across various sectors. Now, these have been approved in 25 NSDA meetings and 8 NCVET meetings, 4,354. Now, for ensuring the availability of quality workforce for every sector of the economy, we are revising these existing qualifications and adding new age qualifications based on the market demands on a regular basis. And I'm very happy to share that most of these sector skill councils, they are coming back to us with the request that they want to merge few qualifications. Earlier, they had really spread it too thin. Now they're consolidating these qualifications and they are making it more broad-based. Now, in line with the international standards and practices, NCVT is moving towards a national occupational standard-based qualification framework. And thus, these more than 4,350 qualifications, they comprise of some 32,000 national occupation standards, and NOS as we call them, in short. So at an average about 7 to 8 NOSes per qualification. Now this will bring in more flexibility, objectivity in the skilling ecosystem, resulting into a very modular, rational, need-based, and learner-friendly qualification and competencies framework. Now we are also working towards developing a credit framework to enable multiple entry and exit options, along with enhanced mobility within the vocational education and general education system. Now there are 10 levels which have been defined in the vocational education system. Similarly, now there are different qualifications for entry into different streams, different courses, and we are trying to work out some kind of a credit-based system. We have already started the various systems being followed by Europe, the US, the Canada, Australia, and all that. And now our framework is almost final. So 25 hours of learning, whether theoretical, practical, including everything, has been given 1 credit. And now we are working towards how really we equate these credits with levels, because few credits at level 1 may have a lower value than the same number of credits at level 5 or level 7. So we are working towards that now. Now, I would also like to inform that the NCVT is developing a very comprehensive digital enterprise portal, which will be used for the end-to-end management of all its operational and regulatory responsibilities, and will allow all the stakeholders to get the services on that portal. By stakeholders, I mean all the sector skill councils, all the state governments, all the central ministries. So they'll be able to register all their training providers, their training centers, their assessors, their trainers. All that will be possible. Now, to bring in uniformity and authenticity in the system, NCVT has launched standard certificate formats for both long-term and short-term trainings. And I'm happy to share that Today, NCVT has collaborated and signed MOU with DigiLocker for creating a national repository of skill certificates. Now, this will ensure digital empowerment of certificate holders by providing them anytime, anywhere access to authentic digital certificates, which are legally at par with originals and without any fear of loss, damage, or misuse. Now, this will also ensure speedy verification and validation, of course, with their consent, for faster service delivery to them, including all the government benefits, scholarships, employment, financial inclusions, and also wherever it is required for their further education. Now, in the end, I would like to assure all of you that NCVT is fully committed to take all initiative to infuse and bring transformational changes to fulfill the vision of the Honorable Prime Minister of India of making India the skill capital of the world. And let's all work towards that. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nirmaljeet Singh Kalsiji. It's always a pleasure. Last about 27 years, we have been seeing together a lot of things. And Professor Jagdish N, I wish to bring to your kind notice that before the Pravasi Bharati Divas came to India, it was Punjabi Pravasi Divas which we started, and he was the commissioner. He was the in charge.
Wow.
And besides that, all the technical education in Punjab, vocational education in Punjab, IT education in Punjab, everything he had been dedicated. And besides that, we did one experiment together. From one village, we picked up 150 children who had never seen bus stand, who had never seen railway station. They had never come to city. They were brought to a particular place for 6 months, groomed, everything, given a kind of a small, depending on their caliber, skills, capabilities, vocationals, each one of them picking up one job. And after 6 months, the Honorable Chief Minister was invited and he told, "Why have you called me here? What am I doing here?" They told, "Sir, kindly meet these children." He says, "Why should I meet them? Who are they? Sir, can you recognize them?" He said, "No." He said, "Sir, these are the same children you gave 6 months back, and they have been skilled, they have been chiseled, they have been reformed, they have been developed, and that is the way it has been done." So last 27, 28 years, long journey. And I think we all are privileged that you are at a right place now for the National Council, you know, for the vocational, and particularly for the training, train the trainers and our youth and everybody. Now you have to prepare a document for the school education. Kindly prepare that. And I would request you, be now a silent listener, and we'll move to higher education, sir. Thank you very much, Dr. Nirmaljeet Singh Kalsiji. We are so proud of you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
And yes, and I move to Professor Anil Sahasrabuddheji. The more I read about him, the more I study about him, the more I try to know him. Because when I walked in the green uniform, all the mountains and all the places and all the greenery of the northeast part of India, I saw, you see Guwahati, you see Arunachal Pradesh, you see any other place. He, along with his most dedicated lady, Madhuri ji, both of them, they are doing remarkable and a phenomenal job. And Professor Jagdish ji, behind every successful man, there is a woman also, let me tell you.
Absolutely.
Because we always keep saying a phrase that behind every successful woman, there is a man. No, let's come it other way around. Madam had organized on the International Women Day on 8th of March. There was a Shiv Tandav which has been organized with 1,100 ladies all the way in the Varanasi. It is available on the YouTube, and you look at it and you see it. And before that, mother is very important in life. माँ का जो role है वो कोई और अदा नहीं कर सकता. Along with other ladies, she has gone world over telling all the mothers, you have got a great responsibility with Matrubhumi. You got to do that role as well. And she set up the first tribal school in Arunachal Pradesh. I still recall Nirjuli,
Wow.
Naharlagan, Itanagar, all those places. Because I'm a soldier, I can rattle out those names within no time, whether it's a Tangaveli or a Bomdilla or Tawang or any other place. Because once you serve over there, you come to know. And Anil Sahasrabudhe has, in such a pious way, when first time I met him, and he told me, ये finishing school का जो तुम्हारा concept है, जो तुम बात कर रहे हो, ये क्या है? तो क्या ये सिर्फ टाई लगा के लास्ट में वो 3 महीने पाउडर लगा के उसके बारे में बातचीत कर रहे हो? I told sir, you are doing a yeoman service, you are doing a great service to the nation, but let me tell you in a very humble way as a soldier, the finishing school, whether a personality development or a communication skill or critical thinking or analytical thinking or logical thinking, anything, it has to be the integral part of the entire education ecosystem throughout the education. And then he smiled and he gave a nice cup of tea to us over there. He told soldier deserves, I think I should give him. And that was something very nice. My first meeting with him, I hold you in the great respect and great regard, sir. And our entire chamber is so indebted to you. You're always there to inspire and to share your vision. Today, we would like to have you, sir, because the entire management, education, engineering, and couple of other things, when we talk about, that is Professor Anil Sahasrabudhe, Chairman of the All India Council for Technical Education. May I humbly request you to kindly share your vision, sir?
Thank you, Dr. Gulshan Sharmaji, for that introduction, which I do not know whether I deserve so much. But anyway, I would like to start off with Dr. Jagdish Sheth, who is a guru of management for all of us. Dr. Nirbal Singh Kalsi, who is again another passionate man driving not only skills but all other things he has been doing. And Professor Vivek Natarajanji. I think I'm very excited to be here on this occasion, which is the 7th year of the International Skills Day and the 7 seminars that you have today whole day. I think it's very coincident. And I just yesterday was in Goa with the Goa Chief Minister on the similar program. In fact, that was there today, but it was advanced to yesterday evening. I completed and my flight today was already fixed at a given time, so I had to come just rush in here in the institution. But anyway, what is significant, Dr. Kalsi ji ne bhi kaha, that Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji is one of the great visionaries, in terms of when he started his campaign in 2014 by certain things, we must connect the dots. He started with Swachh Bharat Abhiyan in the first 15th August. Very important. If you want to really create a skill India, you must have, even cleanliness is very, very important. So Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Then there was, our Skill India campaign, and Skill India is now celebrating its 7th year. And the ministry, first time in India, was dedicated to Ministry for Skills and Entrepreneurship Development. I think this is very significant for a country of our size, because we all were talking that in South Korea, we have about 98% people are skilled. Australia, so many skilled. Everyone, all developed countries have more than 60% of the population is a skilled population. And our number is in not even just reaching double digits. That is very, very important that this Skill India mission was launched. And a lot of empowering things, not only ministry, but whether it is NSDA, NSTC, and all of those which Dr. Kalsi ji has just now reflected, they all came into existence. But also, these are all to be connected by Digital India. So we even talked often about Digital India, then stepped into Make in India, then also Startup India, Stand Up India, and in the recent times, during COVID, new terminology which has arrived is Atmanirbhar Bharat. So I think if you go back from Atmanirbhar Bharat to Startup India, to Make in India, to Swachh Bharat, to Digital India, to Skill India, they are all connected. Unless you have all of them, you cannot have Atmanirbhar Bharat. I think that is very wonderful that the Honorable Prime Minister has been often talking about. So 15th July in 2015, when this particular initiative was taken in, several things have happened which Dr. Kalsi ji has done. But more importantly, during pandemic, on 29th of July 2020, just about a year ago, when the national education policy was rolled out.
Yeah.
It has all those elements which we have been discussing quite often: empowering students, citizenry, professors and teachers, and finally the entire government itself will get empowered when people get empowered. And therefore,
Yeah.
from the brass tacks, from the you are from the army background, Dr. Gulshan Sharma ji, it will all start from the lowest end. Our Jawan has to be fully well equipped, well prepared, well fed. Only then the nation will be secure. And therefore,
Yeah.
to ensure economic sovereignty and economic well-being of all the citizens of the country, Skill India is a very, very important initiative of the government. And today we have some of the results. We have still a long way to go. We cannot be complacent in whatever we have achieved. Nevertheless, I think I will mention few things which are linked with what Dr. Kalsi was just now reflecting. First of all, the new education policy talks about changing this 10+2 system in the school education to 5+3+3+4. So this understanding is very, very important. Today also, many children do go to some kind of a system at the age of 3. That is Balwadi, you can say Anganwadi, some will say nursery, lower KG, upper KG. And then formally at the age of 6, they enter into grade 1, class 1. But the new policy officially says that all students must start education at the age of 3 and go on for the first 5 years, very, very absolutely foundational years. And these are very significant and important years where indirectly skill and skilling will also take roots actually. And that is very, very First and foremost, this education must be in the mother tongue. And therefore, if a child comes out from home where a child is speaking a particular language, it should not get a shock when it comes to the school at the age of 3 and suddenly a new language will start. So I think that is where mother tongue becomes significant. If you are Hindi speaking, you should get into a Hindi medium school at that age, or Marathi or Tamil or Telugu or whatever, Kannada, any language for that matter. That is number one. But the first 5 years should not be stressful. Otherwise, children will distaste education. Say education is for empowerment. Education is for enlightenment. And if the child gets, completely away from that education, I think we are not serving the purpose. And that is why we are seeing so many, what we say, dropouts in education at the age of, say, 10, at 5th standard, 8th standard, 10th standard, 12th standard, because we have really not fed them in the way that they should get interest, enthusiasm, inspiration, or what I need to do. That understanding has to emerge. And therefore, the first 5 years, it is talked about in the policy to be in terms of stories, in terms of games, in terms of toys, in terms of mixing in nature. And then child will get excited about learning. And that learning to learn will start right at that age, through stories. And you can teach any number of languages. Many times people debate why 3 language formula, why not 2 only, and this and that. I think at that age, between 3 to 8, you teach them 10 languages, they will master all 10 languages. But don't ask them to write scripts. That is boring. You tell them stories in 10 languages, they will understand all 10 languages. And Indian languages are all having base of Sanskrit. So if one knows Sanskrit, then probably they will learn all languages. So I think that is what we need probably to do at this age. But the next 3 years, the old 3 R's, reading, writing, whatever we say, and arithmetic is important. That has to be, people should know multiplication, division, square root, all of that. They should start learning at that age through our own ancient system, which we call Vedic mathematics. How simple and easy it is. So if you do this in the first 5 plus 3 years, a child is fully geared up to receive anything. And that is the age when the skilling starts. Vocationalization has been talked about in the next 3 years. That means every child from then on, between those 3 years and the last 4 years, must have permission to, as well as people should be allowed to take as many skills as possible, but at least 2 skill sets. So someone may like carpentry and pottery, someone may like machining and artificial intelligence, someone may like toy making, to anything for that matter. A child should get exposed to that. Thereby, In fact, employability starts from there itself. Someone has completed 12th grade, it means 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. That child will be ready for employment in something or the other. So it is already skilled. And our system today also, what we say is 9th and 10th grade is equivalent to what Dr. Kalsiji said, level 1 and 2. 11th and 12th is equivalent to 3 and 4. And then we say diploma at the level 5. When they do 6 and 7, they get a bachelor's vocation. 8 and 9 for postgraduate in vocation, master's in vocation. And 10th level is for even PhD in vocation. This is theoretical model exists in NSQF.
Yeah.
But how much have we been able to implement? And if this school system changes from 5, 3, 3, 4, and in that last 3 and 4, 7 years, if the child starts, empowered through at least 2 or 3 skills and gets to level 3 or 4, I think job is done. Our whole country will be skilled, not 10%, 20%, 50%, 100%, because in the school education, we almost have achieved target of more than 90-95% in most of the states. Some states even 100% literacy is there. So if you take it little forward, I think skilling becomes a natural corollary of education itself. And this is very important. And today we are lacking in those skills, even in higher education. When child comes to engineering at the end of 12th standard, we find that everything is theoretical. He would have studied certainly physics, chemistry, maths, principles, biology, etc. But even in engineering, he will do engineering drawing. He will do the first angle projection, third angle projection in engineering drawing, workshop practice. But nowhere he relates it to the practice where it is going to be applied. Whether it is even physics or mathematics, everything what we learn has relevance in life. And because we are not telling it to a child, it is either disinterested, something which becomes difficult for the child to understand. It becomes less interested, less and less interested, and probably sometimes fail in examination. So I think moving away from rote learning and making the child to understand the concepts, fundamentals, understanding of that knowledge in the truest sense. Because information is available today in the internet. Teacher is not required for that. Teacher is required for converting information into knowledge, knowledge into wisdom, and where to apply it. And all application orientation will come when child starts doing things by hand. And therefore, whether it is gardening, whether it is agriculture, whether it is forestry, even fishing, you do carpentry, you do pottery, you do paint. I think all of these are very, very important for developing not only innovativeness in that creativity of the child, and this will be blossoming in all other subjects, when it comes to higher education. And that's why these skills are very important, right from motor skills to soft skills. And that is where Dr. Gulshan ji, I'm sorry, because I was very blunt in our first meeting, because I had myself observed that there are finishing schools conducted by even Confederation of Indian Industry and others for a long time. They get in the final year students and tell them how to face the interview, how to well dress and then impress the interviewer. I think that what I said, snow powder ऊपर से लगाने का हो गया. तो अंदर से आना है. So we had experimented in our college along with a college in Hubli, Bhum Reddy College of Engineering, then now called KLE Technological University, KLE University in Hubli, and MS University Baroda, and our own College of Engineering Pune, where I was director. We 3 institutions together, 3 states, neighboring states. If it can be successful model in 3, it can be successful in all the 28 states and all union territory. So we selected one little northwards, one middle, and one southern state, and we experimented, and we called it as not finishing. It was a first year program, starting with first year to final year, and we called it as a head start program. So when a student enters into the college, how do we motivate, inspire child to become a good engineer? By giving them concrete examples of some of the technology marvels. Maybe, for example, now Government of India asked us, as well as we were too willing, that students should go, civil engineering students, structural engineering students, to the Atal Tunnel. That about 10,000 feet, the 9.1 kilometer long tunnel created by Indian engineers, your border roads organization which supports the defense. It cuts the distance in terms of not just physical distance, but by time 4 hours. I think this is
Wow.
phenomenal at that height where it is nearly 4 to 5 months full snowfall. And working there using the latest technology our Indian engineers have created. Before that, we all know the metro rail. Our Dr. Sridharan has created our several metros as well as the Konkan Railway. These are all absolute marvels. If students are taken to such places, they get excited about engineering, what all it can achieve. The same is the case with mechanical engineering, electronics, or computer science. So, for example, many people are not aware Apollo 11 successfully landed on moon, but it was Apollo 13 which is more challenging. When they went close to the moon, the systems collapsed. And how do we bring back those astronauts live?
Yeah.
That's the biggest challenge humanity has probably ever faced. And that is the engineering marvel. When you show such movies, I think inspiration comes from there. So, therefore, we have now today two important programs in the formative years. One is the what we call as student induction program, where not only all these systems are taught to them or shown to them, level playing field between rural urban area, between the English medium and local whatever mother tongue language medium student, rich and poor, English. I said all variety of differentiators are there in the college when they come in the first year. Some of them are introvert, they have to be opened up. So in the 3 weeks, we have created a platform where students will all become friendly with the teacher. Our old Guru Shishya Parampara, the teacher and student have to, mix with each other.
Wow.
A student should feel no difficulty in asking any difficult question to a teacher. And teacher should not worry about, I don't know this answer, how a student knows better than me. Sometimes, many times we have found that students do better than teachers. So we should be proud that I have created a student who has done better than me in life. That spirit has to be imbibed in teachers as well. I think these are all different types of skill set. Teaching is also a skill set. And therefore, we have started building all of this. And coming to the core, that is the today's seminar, which is on International Skills Day. AICTE started with Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana for technical institutions. One more thing, we had community polytechnics, which we opened up. We supported 2 crore funding for implementing that in terms of getting some infrastructure support, equipment support, thereby skilling starts in the colleges. We had 2 other schemes, skill knowledge providers were selected from industry. They can support the colleges in supporting this. We had NEEM, National Employment Enhancement Mission facilitators, something similar to what Skill Ministry is doing. All of those things we started off, and our NSQF itself, and the new education policy, which talks about multiple exit, multiple entry, which Dr. Kalsiji has beautifully explained. I would like to reiterate the academic bank of credits, which is going to come up, which is more holistic than what Kalsiji said. Not only skills, anything what student learns, it should be in the account of the student. It is like a bank account. National, it is a national bank where all these credits, we already have certificates being deposited in National Academic Depository. That is there already, but it is the whole certificate. If you complete ITI, that will come there. If you complete diploma, it will come. But what we are trying to develop through the new education policy is every credit that is student earns. It may be some kind of a practice which he has learned, which has 1 credit equivalence, some theory course of 3 credit. It should go and get deposited. And one student, if he gets transferred because of whatever reason, health reason, parents transfer, goes to another college, all that what he has learned in one college should not go waste. He should be able to encash it in another place. Probably such a mechanism does not exist anywhere in the world. We are the first innovator. We should thank Dr. Kasturi Rangan for such a brilliant that academic bank of credits. But for that, we need to have standardized definition of credits, how exchange can take place, exchange between equals. We should have equivalence and MOUs between 2 institutions who will say that I will accept your credits, you accept my credits. All of this empowerment is likely to be coming out in the next 6 months to 1 year. A lot of work has been done in defining all of these methodologies, and in this is a very important thing. A student after 8th or ninth grade gets into a system where today we don't have any fast what we say concrete differentiation into arts, commerce, science, which happens after the 10th standard. Today after 10th standard, student have to choose art stream, commerce stream, or science stream. A student who chooses science stream after the 12th grade, if he wants to come to art stream, it is allowed. He can take philosophy, psychology, economics, and move on. If someone wants to come to commerce, also is allowed. You can take up commerce and economics and accountancy and come. But if someone has done 11th and 12th grade in arts or commerce, he is not allowed to come to science. This was there. But now in the new policy, the stream is not there at all. There is streamless. It is open boundary. It is multidisciplinary. A student can take music and physics. A student can take psychology and chemistry, and a student can take mathematics and probably painting. These are possible.
Yeah.
So if a student gets such an exposure, he is in fact holistically developed right at the end of 12th standard. Also skill sets, at least 2 or 3 skills. He would be knowing either machining, he would be knowing either computer programming, he will be knowing either artificial intelligence, hard or soft core he would have earned actually. And such students, if they want to come into higher education, that means degree program, why should there be restrictions? There can be a student without doing physics. If he enters engineering, let him do that physics which he has missed out in his 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade in the first year of engineering and become level with others and then go. I think that is what is empowering and which is what is doing. Because, in many tribal rural areas, we don't have science colleges itself. And if a child has to take a decision at the end of 8th standard, it is much difficult. We have less awareness amongst villagers, tribals. For engineering, I need physics, chemistry, maths is not known to them. And therefore, if he has missed out on that because of the holistic permission, a lot of flexibility being provided in the new education policy, we don't want to turn the doors against them, but we would like to welcome them, give a window of opportunity. But without studying this, you cannot become an engineer. That is certain, taken granted. And therefore, desired type of what you call bridge courses. And the bridge courses may be from 1, 2 to 10 courses as much as is required to become same level as that of the other student. I think this is where again we can have students coming from vocational education. If they want to become a graduate in engineering with more mathematics background, more physics, thereby they become designers, they are welcome. Or someone who has joined engineering thinking that he can do it, but they find that this physics and mathematics is not my cup of tea. If he wants to go out and become a diploma in vocation or bachelor of vocation, he must earn some skill sets which are hands-on work and become employable. I think both ways movement, horizontal and vertical, is to be provided, which is there in the framework of NSQF. But we had not really implemented it in the truest sense, which the new education policy is creating all those arms. And if we use it effectively, I think new India is going to be a different India. An India where people are going to be having all variety of holistic development, be it in sports, that is also important, be it in terms of yoga and meditation, be it in terms of even being aware of some part of Ayurveda, so that a student, when he goes out, he should not feel that I don't know this, I don't know that, or if something new comes up in terms of new technology, I cannot learn it, should not be said by the student. He should confidently say, of course, during my time, this subject was not there. Give me 10 days time to the industry managers. I will come back and solve the problem. I think that is the confidence level that we need to build. And that is our new India, and the visible signs are there with the tinkering lab in the through Niti Aayog in 5,000 odd schools. Children from 6th, 7th standard are creating innovative products. Forget about our engineering students creating something innovative in Smart India Hackathon, but even school children are doing it. So we have bright future. We had recently toy hackathon. Earlier we had our Panchatantra stories being created in terms of video, so that moral education comes through a picture, through a video. And 5th standard student won the prize by learning the open source software and created that. I think I can go on, but I think we are extremely happy that our country is getting skilled. But we cannot be complacent. Not everyone has come to that stage. So we have to put in our hard work in order to achieve the target, our goals. May take for another 3, 4, 5 years, but we will win the world actually. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Such an inspirational. I
Absolutely.
think it's a new motivational speaker, sir. People talk about Anthony Robbins. They talk about Jim Rohn. They talk about Les Brown. They talk about Brian Tracy. They talk about Shiv Khera. They talk about Maheshwari and a couple of other people. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the Professor Anil Sahasrabudhe, the chairman of the All India Council for Technical Education, and he has given the complete chronology in such a beautiful order. Swachh Bharat campaign, Skill India campaign, Skill India mission, Digital India, Make in India, Startup India, Stand Up India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, and the complete chronology. I mean, it's something fantastic, sir. And I know somewhere next to किसी कोने में ना दिल के आपके कहीं ना कहीं ट्राइबल बच्चे, रूरल बच्चे, जो फार फ्लंग बच्चे हैं, जब भी मैं माधुरी मैम का कोई प्रोग्राम अटेंड करता हूं, वहां भी मुझे यही महसूस होता है. both of you are made for somewhere to look after less privileged rural, interior, far flung, tribal, and those kids. That's something is remarkable. आज भी आपने कहा कि इंजीनियरिंग और जो साइंस है उन बच्चों तक कई बार पहुंच नहीं पाती है कि वो डिजर्व करते हैं, उनको मिलनी चाहिए लेकिन मिल नहीं पाती है. That was something in holistic development. Yes, we all are moving in that particular direction. I'm also very happy that from the STEM we have moved to STEAM. Art integration in education is very important. और मैं तो सर आपसे रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा, I'm making a humble request. Just few days back I heard the IIT Madras director. मैं तो हैरान हो गया, वो म्यूजिक का दीवाना है. वो कहता है हर सब्जेक्ट में म्यूजिक होना चाहिए, वो पियानो और इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स और ये सब चीजें. सर, व्हाई डोंट वी ब्रिंग म्यूजिक एंड डांस इन एवरी सब्जेक्ट? व्हाई इट इज नॉट द इंटीग्रल पार्ट? पुराने वेदों का पुराना म्यूजिक, वो सब चीजों को लेकर आइए. आज भी हम सरप्राइज देने वाले हैं लास्ट में. सिकंदर आजम का आज हम बजाएंगे, जहां डाल डाल पर सोने की चिड़िया करती है बसेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा. We'll be finishing this program with that, with the entire galaxy of the audience will be on that. I'm so grateful to you that you had such a hectic schedule. You had gone all the way out station. I was keeping a track of that, and your office was informing that he's just about to get down from the aircraft, and thereafter you just came in over here. I'm more humble, sir. I'm more humble now. Thank you very much for sparing your most valuable time. So with that privilege from Dr. Nirmaljeet Singh Kalsi and Professor Anil Sahasrabudhe, let me have a privilege, because our chamber is associated with Indian diaspora. I would move all the way now to my brothers and sisters, 31 million of them, those are across the world. Quickly, I will just take on 4 or 5 slides and then we get on. So this is the program, what we are organizing today. We all are having it today. Let me just move on. You would say this is a blank slide. Okay, great. Here comes. वो होता है ना, कभी भी आप प्रोग्राम में देखते हैं तो कहते हैं ना, ladies and gentlemen, join me in extending a very hearty welcome. So ladies and gentlemen, join me in extending a very warm welcome to the man of the evening, the dignitary of the evening, the legend of the evening, Dr. Professor Jagdish N, who is joining us, and we extend him a very warm welcome. All of us from India, thank you very much for sparing your time and to be with us. You have got such a great contribution. And sir, in a very humble way, I wish to share. We started in the morning. Honorable Prime Minister about 5 weeks back in Mann Ki Baat honored this lady and he appreciated this lady. She's a group captain's wife from Bangalore. And she's the one who basically is expert on storytelling. So he gave this morning how storytelling can be an integral part of education. Thereafter, we got 5 presidents and the heads of the management and commerce from the entire Northern India, as well as from Gujarat. They were together with us, reimagining youth skills. Thereafter, we had gone to the Beauty and Wellness Sector Skill Council. From there, we moved on to the Management and Entrepreneurship and Professional Skill Council. Then we had gone to Media Entertainment Sector Skill Council. And just little before this, we had the Honorable Vice Chancellor of the Desh Bhagat University, Dr. Shalini Gupta with us. Now, youth have got energy, they need synergy. Youth have got desire and they deserve. We got to do the hand holding of all of them. And this is what the Honorable Prime Minister also had been telling: skilling, reskilling, and upskilling. And what are the skills which we require post-pandemic? And this is something remarkable, what ICSI is bringing today. Since morning, we are getting the creatives that in our YouTube channel, people are posting their ideas. We need creativity, we need innovation, we need participation, we need enthusiasm. And finally, Vivek Shankar Natarajan ji is shortlisting since morning. And there will be 3 people who will be shortlisted. But finally, there'll be one winner who would get the scholarship to do MBA in United States. That is going to be the most innovative, humble contribution from the chamber. Now, this is something very important. Sir, in our education, why don't we bring music, dance, games, happiness, humor, fun, creativity, curiosity, storytelling, stimulation, passion, talent, exhibition, stress-free, technology-based, vocational skills, outdoor activities? हम नेचर के साथ क्यों नहीं रहते? हम पेड़ पौधों के साथ, पक्षियों के साथ, जानवरों के साथ, इन सब का, वो भी तो प्रकृति का एक स्वरूप है. होलिस्टिक एजुकेशन वो है जिसमें एजुकेशन, स्किल्स और उसका कुछ आउटकम निकलना चाहिए. Either you become entrepreneur or you go for employment. Like Niti Aayog is doing Atal Tinkering Lab, which Honorable Chairman AICTE was mentioning, and the incubation center, our chamber in a very humble way, through the finishing labs and inspirational labs, we are working on to talent hunts and soft skills and the life skills. And we are proud in a very humble way to share that in 1994, we brought India's first finishing school for service industry with our brothers and sisters from the globe. और अभी आज 15 जुलाई है, 15 अगस्त को globally with all my brothers and sisters, Indian diaspora, हम ई गुरुकुल ज्ञान यज्ञ, हमको किसी का कोई पैसा नहीं चाहिए, हमें किसी से कोई डोनेशन नहीं चाहिए, हमें किसी तरीके की वैसी कोई मदद नहीं चाहिए, हमें सिर्फ अपना ज्ञान दे दीजिए, अपना विजडम दे दीजिए, अपनी नॉलेज दे दीजिए, अपनी टेक्नोलॉजी दे दीजिए. उसके माध्यम से हम दूर दराज तक, क्योंकि भारत आज भी गांव में रहता है, रूरल एरियाज में रहता है, फार फ्लंग एरियाज में रहता है. We want to reach out every youth, every child, every teacher. We have dedicated our energy and synergy to teacher and youth empowerment. 37 sector skill councils are doing great job. Heartiest congratulations and great regards to the new education minister and the skill minister, Shri Dharmendra Pradhan ji. And along with him, Rajiv Chandrasekhar ji has taken over now, the Honorable Minister of State for Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, as well as Electronic Information. This is Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, which Chairman AICTE was talking, and before that, Nirmaljeet Singh Kalsi ji was also telling. So, ladies and gentlemen, जितने भी लोग साइलेंटली इस प्रोग्राम को देख रहे हैं, साइलेंट क्यों रहते हो, खामोश क्यों रहते हो, आगे आओ, बाहर निकलो, आगे बढ़ो, जो कुछ आपके पास है इस प्लेटफॉर्म पर शेयर करो. You do not know who would be the winner of today's evening. So whatsoever human mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. This is the YouTube channel. Get others also. All of us, we are together. ये मैं आपको सबसे लास्ट में लेके चलूंगा. I drop the curtains and I extend a very warm welcome to Professor.Dr. Jagdish N. Sheth, the keynote speaker, the theme speaker, the eminent personality of the evening, who is joining us this evening all the way from the United States. And जनरली होता है कि लेडीज अपनी एज नहीं बताती हैं. मैं सर आपकी एज किसी को नहीं बताऊंगा. I will not tell because how many years you have added, but he is the most decorated civilian soldier who has come a long way, and his vision is कि भारत को सक्षम बनना है, भारत को आगे बढ़ना है, और कोई भी बच्चा अशिक्षित नहीं रहेगा, कोई भी बच्चा अनस्किल्ड नहीं रहेगा. With that as a vision, we extend a very warm welcome to Professor Dr. Jagdish N. Sheth.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Gulshan Sharma, and my good friend Vivek Natarajan, who has been motivating me to do and engage more and more. This is my privilege because I have two colleagues who have joined me in this panel, Dr. Khalsi, and remarkable journey, what he has contributed back to the nation, and of course, Professor Anil Shastra Buddhe, who I have come to know. And the more I come to know about him, the more my admiration and respect goes up for him. So I'm in very good company. In fact, I'm humbled to be with people like them who are dedicated public servants, have given up their life and opportunities to serve the nation in a right and a proper way. It is leadership like this, all the way to the prime minister level, which is going to make the difference between old India and the new India, my view. And I think it's very remarkable. It is very doable. We are finally taking charge of our own destiny, which I think is very good. Let me make a few observations, and then we'll open up for questions and answers. First one is that the purpose of a nation is to unlock the potential of its people. That's it. That should be the mission of the nation. And if you take a grain of wheat, an agricultural commodity, and make it into a loaf of bread, the value add is only 3 times. If you take a rough diamond, an industrial commodity, and cut and polish, the value add of a finished diamond compared to rough diamond is about 15 times. But if you take a human being, mentor, nurture, invest, the value add is infinite. In fact, if you take an economic view and say, what is the return of my investment on that human being? It is probably the best investment one can ever make, either as a family, as an individual, but more at a nation level. And we have shown this to be true in many countries, where somehow the country decided to invest in their people's education, skills, know-how, know why, and I'll come to that, but it has given fruits enormously. Now, here is a very interesting contrast in India that we don't think about. If you take a software engineer, a typical 10 plus 2 plus 3, for example, joins a company like Infosys, Wipro, TCS, a starting salary is about 60,000 rupees a month, or let's say about 8 lakhs, 9 lakhs, under 10 lakhs, somewhere around that. But at the end of the month, he has no cash flow. Because he lives in a city where he's a paying guest in somebody's room, and his rental alone is about 20,000 rupees. Of course, he's very contemporary, so he has to have all these new modern gadgets. Cell phone is necessity, and just goes on. Of course, being contemporary, he has a boyfriend, girlfriend. You have to enjoy evenings socializing. At the end of the month, despite good income, there is no discretionary income. Now contrast that with somebody in the port of Mundra in Gujarat. A crane operator earns about the same, 60,000 rupees a month, maybe a little more. There's a scarcity of that person actually. He or she is trained, usually it's a man, and he is married, typical 10 plus 2 education. His wife is a caretaker, not only for the family, but the in-laws, the father, mother, etc. And he has a more discretionary income than ever before. So his aspiration is to say, what do I do with my income? At least get a motorcycle. Motorcycle sales are much stronger in smaller towns and rural population than in metro areas. Thinks about investing in education of his own child, more likely in a private school, which is not a good idea because one can motivate him to invest in the public schools, send the child to the public school. But it's interesting how the reality is so different. One is earning money by learning know why, other one is earning money by learning know how. And this dichotomy we have created has created a class system because know how means hands-on, and therefore you are a blue-collar worker. Know why is more mind-oriented, and therefore you are a white-collar worker. I think those days are gone. It's an obsolete model. It is not either or. Today you have to know both know how as well as know why. In fact, I would add more, given Dr. Anil, Sahasrabudhe, what he mentioned, the new model of education, which I think is a brilliant document, 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, allowing the first 5 years of just being enjoy education. Going to the school is a joy, it's fun, learning basic skills in some fashion, then get into the vocational, etc. I think not only it is know how and know why that you learn, but also at the same time, to create a holistic human being, you need to also learn values. Values have to come in there, holistic education, whatever. It is very similar to the Trinity principle. Every walk of life there is a Trinity principle. So the third dimension is not only body and the mind, but the soul, spirit, ethics, whatever you call them. And that comes from our ancient literature enormously. Who says that it cannot be a part of the school system? It can be as a part of the holistic learning. In fact, the goal of the nation is to generate more and more. Dr. Sahasrabudhe actually mentioned what I call a deep generalist, which means I'm a specialist. I know my vocation, I know my expertise, but I can learn about it. I know everything else. It's a T model, and I can connect the dots. More innovation today is taking place by connecting different dots than breakthrough knowledge itself. There's so much of possibility of creating new values for the society, etc. Now, how does this notion of getting the potential and creating ordinary people extraordinary benefit the nation? This is very similar to Adam Smith's thinking, pretty much saying the baker and the butcher, etc. If you create wealth for him, it'll be the wealth of the nation. This is a very different concept, but in the same motion. First of all, it creates prosperity for the nation. It creates enormous happiness for the people because they don't have to struggle for their survival needs. And therefore, it creates peace in the nation. Peaceful nations are generally happy nations. Generally, they believe in whatever they're getting, the nation is taking care of them rather than them contributing to the nation. More importantly, in the industrial age, this created the basically middle class. So right now, the income disparity that is increasing, we can take the lower income people by and large and bring it into the middle class level at least, if not upper middle class. Definitely changes the whole notion of changes the notion of completely, in fact, creating the unorganized sector into very much an organized sector. I think this is a very important one to bring from old India to new India. We need to shift from unorganized sector, which is currently a dominant one. I'm told that 90% of all the workers are contract workers, not even employees in India. How do we shift that into more organized and therefore good citizens in the process? Very importantly, it generates enormous soft power, not only within India, but internationally. I find fascinating that in my early days when I used to travel worldwide, and I've been away from the country for more than 60 years, people would simply say at the immigration, when I come back to America, they would say, "Are you a diamond merchant?" They would not even ask me the question, how long have you been away from the country and what do you do? Today they say, "Are you a software engineer?" With an appreciation and a smile. I mean, this happens in all over Europe. I've been amazed. The person who takes my luggage upstairs to the hotel room is smiling and saying, "Are you a software engineer?" Think about the power, soft power of our diaspora, soft power of our people, as opposed to what I think is very important message. And it actually definitely will slow down brain drain. At one time, there were no opportunities, but today I can give a good livelihood, good opportunity within the nation, and therefore I don't need to go abroad to take care of my family or to survive economically. I think this is all very important way to say it is the mission of the nation to unlock the potential of its own people, make ordinary people extraordinary, and it'll be value add and a win-win for society, community, family, and the individual pretty much. Now, why focus on the service sector? I believe one thing very nicely what we have done is to drop the word technical. It is no longer engineering model. In the industrialization age, we needed that model. But today, vocational education is more necessary in services sector than it is in manufacturing or even in agriculture to some extent. In manufacturing sector, the machine will dictate actually in many ways to homogenize, to standardize, to have a procedures and the policies, step 1, step 2, step 3, for the typical scientific management of time and motion studies. In services industry, the variation is enormous from one individual to another individual. It's more labor intensive, or from one encounter to the other encounter. How do we create much more standardization in the process? Increase the scale economies in the process. And the ultimate objective has to be in service industry from low wage to high wage. Whole nation actually must think about how do we create a high wage economy, and therefore the minimum income that people generate is jumping enormously way beyond one think about, not by minimum wage policies, but by shaping the human being, by providing the opportunities, and the opportunities are plenty. For example, one of the key sectors that is very important to the nation is tourism. Every country. India's tourism is a big industry, except it is not international tourists coming to India. My research I did about 2 years ago in India's tourism, I was absolutely astounded. I think in year 2018 or 17, we had 1.3 billion tourists in India. And I'm saying these numbers makes no sense. But it turns out it's all domestic tourists. They go to all these yatras, for example, Kumbh Melas. There are so many different events taking place. They travel from one place to another because India loves to travel, surprisingly, within the country. And if you look at the whole tourism industry, it is highly unorganized, non-certified. There are so many touch points from point Y to point B to point C. That industry is perfect for creating certification program. In fact, the country that I have admired most, there are 2 countries, maybe 3 technically if you wanted to. Germany was the first nation during the industrialization to certify every occupation. Whether you want to be a janitor or a sanitary person, you have to be certified. Whether you want to be a homemaker, the au pair was a system where the young women will be actually working in a family, taking care of children, taking care of housemaid duties to learn how to be good homemakers. That was the intent at one time. Today, it could be something else they won't like to do. Whatever it is, I think we need to have certification as a universal requirement in the nation. That's very important. And especially for underprivileged population, not only Northeast frontier is very critical, very strategic, but in general, I think we have so many possibilities, and it is not the role of NGOs alone, and the private sector, we cannot rely on it. I do believe that in the IT sector, here is a $200 billion industry created ultimately by one company, maybe 2 at best, NIIT and AICTE. They created coding capabilities, which led for us to be in Y2K when the computers were changing from the last millennium to the new millennium in the world, which led ultimately from very humble beginnings of doing just a Y2K conversion to today having a major IT services industry. And today the world recognizes that. In fact, in IT services alone, I can tell you all of the Silicon Valley companies and comparable ones from all over the world, European Union, for example, America, for example, are going to come to India because India has the largest talent pool that needs to be properly also nurtured, certified, or created even more talent pool. So I've always said that if you want to find gold, where do you go? You go where the gold mine is. And India is a gold mine of human capital. We can provide more capital, not only for our own domestic corporations, but foreign corporations to come and invest in India and become employers as opposed to just outsourcing. In fact, the numbers are staggering. If you take on multinationals like IBM or eventually Google, Facebook, Microsoft, India may be the largest, if not the second or the third largest employment base for these companies. In accounting, already that's the case with Ernst & Young. Hyderabad alone has 50,000 employees in one location, one cluster, just for accounting purposes. That size and the scale, no country can ever provide except India. And I think one can leverage it enormously for our global integration, which is inevitable. Rather than remain isolated domestic economy, we can be pioneers in creating things, for example, national digital locker or biometric identification that we created. We can lead from an emerging economy as opposed to learning only from the advanced economies. The reverse flow is very possible today. So I feel very strongly that one can actually implement this under the new education policy, and with such great collaboration between Dr. Khalsi on the one hand and Dr. Shastra Buddhe on the other hand. These are two different institutions, and I think we can implement very quickly. So let me just suggest how to implement. Ultimately, these are nice ideas if you can get it done. So one recommendation I have is that we can create a world-class institution at a national level similar to what we created IITs. Every state should have something about vocational education, university or a college. So as many states, it is similar to IGNU or similar to the gradual evolution of IIT and IIMs. Similarly one, Singapore has done a great job. They took about 8 or 9 different vocational technical education, VOTech as we call it, made it into one single university, but it is just one city. India has the possibility of duplicating into each of the capitals of each of the states. Very similarly, what we have done with IGNU model, Indira Gandhi National Open University, for example, it's very possible. I also think the second element one has to do is not only blend the know-how and know-why, but also get the public-private partnership at the same time, or what is called the co-op model, where the student learns vocational education, but also actually earns money and the companies hire them. And fortunately, with so many corporations now looking for great talented people are likely to support that idea. So I think they're kind of a public-private partnership, maybe a second major thing, where each college, which is vocational education, can cooperate with industry, where you are working there in a very practical knowledge. And at the same time, in fact, you are getting your certificate or graduate degree. And under the new 5+3+3+4, this is long enough runway to get it done. So it's like an internship for management students between first year and second year. But this is a much deeper, so livelihood comes in early, for example, and at the same time, the student can be placed into the industry or wherever they want to go. Not limited just to private sector. Largest employer, of course, is the government. So one can have similar thinking in the IIS. Military, of course, does it own. All of them their own academies. So one again, know-how and know-why can be blended with public-private partnership, with bureaus partnering with colleges, etc. That's a strong second recommendation. The third recommendation is that, as I think Shastra Buddhe already talked about, design the program in a way that it actually allows upward education mobility. Think about that one. Carnegie Mellon University, which is one of the top engineering schools, began as a polytechnic. Caltech, one of the world's top institutions in California, began as a polytechnic. Brooklyn Polytechnic. These were all polytechnics in the industrial age, so they became universities. I think we can do the same thing here to say this vocational education can be so good that the world would like to come and participate. And there's a huge opportunity of inviting from other emerging economy countries to come and study in India. India can easily become, it's really very possible, the education capital of the world, because kinds of experiments we are able to do in a very democratic and in a very diverse nation is incredible. We have done more experiment with our educational system than any other nation. I studied 12th standard, and then I went to intermediate, then I went to college, right? Very interestingly. Today, we came out with public PUC, pre-university, 1 year. Now we have a 10+2. And now with the new policy, we are actually creating fantastic change. And I totally agree, learning does not begin at age 4 or 5. It begins the time you're born. So 3 years is a great one. Parents do send their children to study someplace. And making it a formal part allows you extra 2 years of shaping the human being, giving the education, etc. In my own personal experience, one of the best schools I learned was, of all places, in Borivali. One of the suburbs at that time was a remote place, actually, way back in the north, more like a national park. In my school, which was a middle school at that time, I remember I had to study music, mandatory as extracurricular activity, handicraft, how to cut and all that stuff, gardening, how to grow vegetables, for example. I had to study painting. And I tell you, those little skills that I learned at a young age, as Shastra Buddha already talked about, remains with you in your life. What it does is that things doing by hand is as respected as things doing by mind. I think we can remove the whole notion of a caste system that doing things by hand is not the same quality or a level as doing things by mind. I think we can reduce the disparity in the process quite a lot, etc. The egalitarianism, more and more, sort of it's like world is flat kind of a notion. There is no caste system in some fashion. I think that's very important to have. So upward education possibility, co-op model, blending know-how, know values, and know-how, know why, and the values, for example, tripod model, or typically Trinity principle, and having a world-class institution similar to IIT and IIMs for vocational education. I mean, there's no better place than India to do this thing, because we have the scale, we have the size, we have the technology. And Dr. Gulshan Sharma, I will make one last comment, which then we'll open up for questions and answers. If you go back to the pre-industrial age, there were 3 C's of learning. You learned craft from a master guild, somebody who taught you how to be a goldsmith or an ironsmith or whatever it is. We call it handicraft industry. You learned from community. Community gave you the do's and the don'ts, the ethics and the morality, how to behave to be part of the community. And then you learn from congregation, not even a formalized religions, but before that one even, from congregation. It could be a religious, faith-based. You learn from congregation philosophy of life, meaning of life, and how to be a good citizen. Industrial age, we shifted from 3 C's of learning to 3 R's of learning: reading, writing, and arithmetic, which is what all school education is all about today. And we have examinations in 3 R's of learning: reading, writing, and arithmetic. In the new digital age, which is very key to transform education system, I call it 3 I's of learning. Learning should be interactive, critical thinking, problem solving, not just taking notes. Learning should be integrated, and that was the point I think, Dr. Sharma, you were making. There is something common between music and mathematics, which is called a language. Can we do a meta-analysis and say music as a language, scientific based, Mathematics, of course, is scientific. Is there an emotive dimension in mathematics, for example, as we say, analytic component in music, for example? Integrating the two will create a set of knowledge that you have never thought possible. So integration between physics and chemistry, integration between finance and marketing, for example, which is our discipline, integrating between mechanical engineering and chemical engineering, or integrating between hardware and software as we do in digital technology. So integration, learning has to be integrated. And the third thing is that the learning has to be individualized. Interactive, integration, and individualized. That says, I go at my pace, just like the new education policy is suggesting. I bank my credit hours. Also, not only that, but I can use today mass customization technology more in the digital age than in the manufacturing age. And I can have a one-on-one education in a group with economies of scale. So how can I individualize my education? By the sequence, by the timing, I can do it. It's not extra costing even, surprisingly. And in this case, you unlock the potential of the person because you're matching that person's own aptitude along with environment that you nurture. Let them be a good one. Vocational education does not mean you have to be an engineer or you have to be a medical doctor, for example, as was the first dream of India when we got independence. Those were the two things. But I can be a great musician. I can be a good nurse if I want to be. It basically says, I do it with passion. If I don't want to do anything, I can be a good entrepreneur. I don't want to go to higher education, like graduate or postgraduate education. I can just be a good entrepreneur. In fact, it's very interesting to watch that the most successful entrepreneurs are all college dropouts, whether it's Bill Gates or anybody else. In fact, the most entrepreneurial people I find are not even business leaders, as we talked about, but musicians. If you go to any of the rock band people, Beatles, they're all entrepreneurs. At age 14, 15, they've lost interest in traditional education of the 3 R's. So they like the freedom to express what they want to do. And they become very important, very icon. I mean, that's true of our movie stars. That's true of our cricket players in terms of sports, for example, because they have an obsession, a passion. And how do you ignite that passion? By giving them the proper education and proper values so they have become very good citizens. Not only they serve themselves very well, but serve the society. Ultimately, an individual and a society are two peas in a pod. Society depends on the individual, and the individual depends on the society. And how do you create a commonality of purpose between the individual and the society, which is a very key component of education. I hope there's enough comment here. I can go on. All of us are very passionate people, but I will stop here and pick up any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Such an enlightening, such right from the bottom of your heart, with such a long, over the years, practical touch and the practical experiences what you have given to us. We are privileged. We are privileged today that you have given such a wonderful insight to the entire gamut, canvas, and painting with the different colors. And I was feeling that point of time when you told that in your school, you had music, you had handicraft, you had gardening, you had painting. How lucky you were. All that in your school education. Sir, it's such a wonderful enlightenment. Our deepest gratitude and thanks to you for such a wonderful insight and a lifelong journey and experience and all. Initially, you started from that crane operator, you started from the city, and you started from Mundra, and then know how and know why. Now, there are two important things which I would like to make a request to you before we come on the specific questions of the audience. Would you be kind enough to give a little insight on how would you like Indian tourism to develop? That message has gone deeper to us. We should focus on domestic tourism. We have got enough of attractions, amenities, and all that in this country. We have got all season. We have got art, craft, culture, cuisine, dances, music, heritage, whatever we can talk about. One message is very clear from your side: India should focus on domestic tourism. Then, sir,
Yes.
you all also made a mention over there, service industry. Now, at this point of time, particularly during this pandemic, almost 5 crore travel agents, tour operators, tourist transporters, travel facilitators, travel excursionists, they all are having such a big challenge at this point of time. Although we have to find the new ventures, new avenues, and we have to think about it. Post-pandemic psychological barriers would be more than actual physical barriers also, which we have to consider. I would like to have your vision and your expertise. How do we repackage? How do we recoin? How do we rethink? And how do we basically regenerate our Indian tourism industry post-pandemic?
I think there are three elements we need to bring to basically bring about the new tourism model versus the old tourism model. One is the use of technology, going beyond just voice communication. Today, technology is very affordable in India, and we do everything with technology. So, can we, from the start point to the end point, technology becomes the glue between the tourist, the tour operator, and the frontline person. Nothing unusual, as Uber does it anyhow in ride sharing or whatever comparable, Ola in India, for example. It's nothing uncommon as, for example, Amazon does with packages. There's a complete sharing of information. So technology has to be embedded into tourism industry in a very significant way, including all the documents if necessary. I mean, all the paperwork that you need, right? Medical history of the tourist person, for example. It is all there in somebody's memory. It is all there by phone calls from each other. So that's clearly one. Second one is that I think we need to have certification for every activity where you are touching the tourist, those who make reservations, to those who actually do the field trip. So for example, when I go to India and want to visit a temple or some historical place, I find that there is no guide there except somebody local, and he or she gives me the interpretation, which may not be necessarily right even. He learned or she learned from somebody else, etc. It's like the old way. How can we make sure that the tourist information given to a guide, I'm talking about domestic travel even, the information is very much, accurate, very correct, etc. Which again today is very possible because everything is on the internet even, right? So that guide has to be trained properly. I think it's very important. It's very, again, it goes from low wage to a high wage economy in generally. Same thing, we do have the fantastic reservation system on the airlines. And now we are putting on the trains. But you don't see a similar system on the buses, and buses is the backbone of domestic tourism. Public buses going from city to city. Or it's a multimode at least, just like cargo multimode, where I fly in, then I have to take a bus someplace, to go into a remote part, etc. I think that's one more. I think we have not linked tourism in terms of field experiences in school systems. My view is that like museums, I mean, I must tell you, the kinds of cultural heritage we have, you simply admire and sort of you're in awe when you visit them. How could anybody have done this thousands of years ago, but it is not kept well? We know how to build things, but we don't know how to maintain things. So how do you make sure it's maintained very well? Now, some places are very well done. Recently, I did visit in the last 3 years, I think, the statue of Vallabhbhai Patel, the Statue of Unity, I think, as it is called. It's mind-boggling, first of all. And size is enormous. You take a pride that this was all done by Indian engineers and Indian builders, essentially. But the organization was beautiful, organizing the tour. And we went into a low season, fortunately. Did not have to wait too much. But the massive crowds, and we need to organize when a crowd of 100,000 people show up. How do we manage that? And which can be done. It's a question of just using the skill set, certification, processes, systems, etc. put together. So it's people, processes, systems all have to come together. Again, all it says is that from a highly unorganized sector, how do we make it more organized? That's all, pretty much. And it can be done. I'm very, very positive about Indian tourism.
Wonderful, wonderful. All the three recommendations: use of technology, certification for everyone whosoever is providing tourism services, and link tourism with the field experiences also. Children to be taken from schools, colleges, universities, institutions to the practical part of it. Let them go. आधे लोगों को तो यही नहीं पता है कि जमीन के अंदर कौन सी सब्जी उगती है और जमीन के ऊपर कौन सी उगती है। वो तो थैंक्स टू कोरोना की कम से कम लोगों ने सब्जी उगानी शुरू करी तो उनको समझ आया कि सब्जी क्या होती है, कैसी होती है, पता ही नहीं कुछ चीजों का। I think, sir, that's very practical. One more thing.
Shastra, no,
Yes.
just hold on. Anil has a point. Shastra Buddha has a point.
Sure, please,
go
sir.
ahead, make a point.
Please, sir.
So I think Professor Jagdish Sheth has rightly pointed out what are the flaws. But I think positive side is when you are saying crowd management of 100,000 people, forget 100,000, 10 million people were managed in the Kumbh Mela, which was held recently. Amazing, actually.
Amazing.
You know, that too during pandemic also it has been organized so well, actually. I think we have the capacity, the willingness,
we have the capacity,
and the passion. You know, these two are very important. How do you generate that passion? How do you generate that enthusiasm in this, from the school education to higher education? Then people who lead the you know, whatever that organization, they will contribute, actually. I think that is the spirit, actually. I think I fully with you. And use of technology, you rightly said. In the new education policy, there is a separate chapter on National Educational Technology Forum being developed. And it is not just for education, but for all other variety, whether it is in tourism, whether it is in transportation, in any journey of our life, how we can integrate technology. You know, that is what it says. And therefore, children have to be prepared fully well for that, actually.
Right.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now, coming on to something very interesting, sir, when you talked about service industry, because that's next to our heart, because our chamber is International Chamber for Service Industry. Something very interesting I would like to talk over here to our honorable distinguished guests. 5.5 years, we have been in the office and the corridors of the Ministry of MSME, Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise, right from the day of the Giriraj ji, thereafter Nitin Gadkari ji, Sarangi ji, Dr. Arun Panda ji, the secretary, numerous presentations we made over there, and Ram Mohan Mishra ji, the additional secretary over there in that ministry, and then Shri Khande ji from Maharashtra, again over there as a additional, the commissioner, all of them, and the directors in the entire galaxy. 5.5 years, we have been banging over there that services sector to be brought at par with the manufacturing sector in the micro, small and the medium enterprise, because services you require in agriculture also and manufacturing also. And I'm proud to share on this platform today on the World Youth Skills Day that 13th of May last year, 2020, the Honorable Finance Minister of India, when she was talking about, and what our chairman AICTE mentioned about Atmanirbhar Bharat, that time when she talked about the 5 pillars as a follow-up, giving the complete profile which Honorable Prime Minister had given the direction, she made a mention on 13th of May 2020 that from today, the services sector will be at par with manufacturing sector. The definition of the MSc got changed. You can't imagine, sir, what was that day? We forgot how much efforts we had put in for 5.5 years, because service industry is needed everywhere. What is your vision? Because today's in GDP for India, services sector is having such a beautiful contribution. And when you talk about services, your etiquette, your manner, your gesture, your body language, your personality, your articulation, your communication, your behavior, your temperament, your dealing, everything is a part of the services. How do you look at the future? Because you made a mention, unorganized sector and moving from there to the organized sector. Little light on that, sir.
Yeah, I think primarily it says that in many ways, how do you create a discontinuity in the way we did business in services? And that goes for restaurants, for example, that goes for tourism, as we talked about, that goes for healthcare. And services are very prevalent everywhere. It's universal almost, if nothing else. After sales services, for example, there's a whole customer support system, which again is a pretty large segment of the population, call centers, and of course the BPOs, for example. Just goes on and on. You can talk about. So the point basically is that I think it is a backbone of the society. In many advanced countries, service sector is almost 60-70% of the GDP contribution as they migrate from manufacturing to services, for example. More importantly, we have not recognized the importance of service sector because manufacturing creates services. In automobile industry, once you buy a car, you have to have the repair maintenance of the car, you have the financing of the car. Once you buy a home, you have the mortgage and the payment, repair maintenance of the home. So which is the old paradigm. Now what you are finding in advanced countries is that the services is creating manufacturing. Opposite. Because each service requires some product thing. So how do you create an economy which is service-driven manufacturing? So for example, if you're going to have more and more hospitals being built, then you need more equipment in the hospital, which is a manufacturing. You need more beds you need more the MRI machines or electrocardiogram machines or portable devices, whatever they are, stethoscope, whatever it is, right? So you have a manufacturing that is created by a services economy. I find that fascinating that more and more we are finding that the next generation of manufacturing comes from a services economy. But that's a different manufacturing than the traditional mechanical, electromechanical way we did it, which is here. So today's automobile, for example, I find fascinating. Tesla as an electric car, I call as more like a very big mobile iPhone. It's all software and tracking mechanism. Like my iPhone, I can track where it is. I can change my software upgrade by remotely. I can do something with the car. That is generating manufacturing in a very different way. It's a service economy, actually. It turns out to be where product is just an incidental thing. It's very interesting to think how services can generate more manufacturing and where are the possibilities. Tourism, as we talked about, healthcare, as we talked about, education is generating so much of product innovation now. It's just mind-boggling. Today's classes are very smart classes, etc., etc. So it just goes on.
Wonderful.
I'll stop here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's a beautiful insight. And before we close the session, from the chairman AICTE, if there's anything, sir, you would like to share, you would like to add over here before we wind up the session and hand over to the chair, Professor Vivek Shankar Natarajan, you'll be surprised and pleasantly surprised. This man has not slept last night, and he had been a part of all the 7 webinars. He told, I'll sleep today. I'll sleep today during daytime, but let me go through, because he got to announce the final winner of today, who gets the MBA scholarship in United States. And the person, whosoever would be there. Before that, sir, I would request Chairman AICTE to say a few words, a few remarks in case from your side, sir.
Dr. Gulshan Sharma ji, Dr. Jagdish Sheth rightly pointed out, vision, goal of the nation should be unlocking the potential of the nation. And he
Yes.
also said wheat can have value addition 3 times, diamond, 15 times, and human being infinite. And when you have people like Dr. Vivek Natarajan, who have been polished and who have been, given the right kind of education, they have been having the infinite potential. That's why sleepless nights and still contribute. I think hats off to him. Namaskar for that. I think the Trinity is also important: body, mind, and spirit. And reference was made to our cultural heritage. In fact, I should mention here to Dr. Sheth that Ministry of Education now, earlier MHRD, had created a division called Indian Knowledge Systems Division in AICTE, and the entirely funding is being done by AICTE. So we have
Wow.
12 people who have joined, and we have constantly, every week, we have a webinar on one aspect or the other of the ancient Indian wisdom, be it in
Wow.
science and technology, be it in culture, be it in clothes, be it in textile, be it in terms of food, in terms of Ayurveda, yoga, everything, that what we should feel inspired about. So far at least 25, 30 webinars by experts who have done excellent studies in Sanskrit and also in these domains. That has been done. I think we need to make them, the whole world aware. It's not just India, but whole world
Yeah,
together. But first, our
exactly.
Indians should become aware. Actually, our school books do not talk about it. That is why this division, which has been done, which has been doing a phenomenal job. Same is the case of innovation cell of the ministry, which is located in AICTE. We are lucky, we are fortunate that when ministry could not do something, they transfer that job to AICTE, and we are in a position to do it, including
Wow.
doing funding for them. So that's
Wow.
all I wanted to say. And Dr. Jagdish Sheth is fabulous, as usual. Brass tacks, from the groundswell, the way he explains various phenomena. He is a real management guru. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your sharing your wisdom and wonderful job which AICTE is doing. We are really proud of you. You have totally dedicated your life towards that. So with these words, my deepest gratitude and thanks to the theme speaker of the evening, Professor Dr. Jagdish N. Sheth, and my deepest regards and thanks to Professor Anil Sastapuddeji, the chairman AICTE, and Dr. Nirmaljeet Singh Kalsiji, the chairman of the National Council for Vocational Education and Teaching, NCVET, and of course, the main packaging sutradhar, Professor Dr. Vivek Shankar Natarajanji. I know before you go to sleep, let's declare the winner, of the entire, you had about since morning, all the posts in all the 7 programs. Let us see who is the lucky winner from your panel, from your expertise, and let there be somebody telling that, wow, the World Youth Skill Day was fantastic. And on the 7th Youth Skill Day, I was the winner and I got something to travel to United States. Vivek Shankar Natarajanji.
So I'd like to announce the winner, and then I want to make a few observations for vote of thanks. So most of us here in the panel, we all have a deep connection with the east part of India, especially Northeast. Dr. Sheth, I know he had the connections with Burma. I know you as a soldier, you love Northeast. Professor Sahasrabuddhe served in Northeast. So it is very fitting that we have Madam Noidu from Arunachal Pradesh. She's been a product school that Madam Madhuri Sahasrabuddhe launched. And she is now chosen to be the winner of this scholarship. Madam Noidu, you're really lucky because normally when they give scholarship, they give it in some ceremony, but you have 3 great scholars who are witnessing you and blessing you. So please take blessings from each of them, Dr. Kalsi, Dr. Sahasrabuddhe, Dr. Jagdish Sheth. We wish you the very best, and please go and take benefit from the scholarship and come back and contribute to the motherland. That's my message.
Excellent. Yeah.
With the permission of the speakers, I want to make a few observations for the vote of thanks. So I know Dr. Sheth is in the audience, and so his biggest thing is mantra is rule of 3. And so 3, so in our Indian tradition also, we always say trayam and all that, shariram and all that. So the first thing is and Trayam is also 3, that is Prayag. So today is a Gyam Prayag. We have the Dev Prayag, today is Gyam Prayag. And so we had the Icha Shakti, the power of thinking, ideation from Dr. Sheth, Kriya Shakti, vocational training from Dr. Kalsi, and of course Gyan Shakti, the AICTE chairman, the 3 Shaktis coming together. That was wonderful. We talked about Kaikam Karma, again Dr. Kalsi talking about vocational training, Manasikam Karma, the power of thinking from Dr. Sahasrabuddhe, and Vachikam Karma, the power of articulation, communication skills that Dr. Sheth pointed out. All of these 3 are very important. So in Ayurveda, they say all the doshas have to come together. So our Indian tradition is all about holistic balance. So, and to the idea that there is indeed a blue collar, white collar divide, in the Shastras, it's really not that way, because even in Yoga Vashishta says, Bahubalam, he says to Rama, get your Bahubalam up and running. And all our gods have been depicted with arms. So they are all believing in the arms as much as in the power of the mind and the power of the spirit. So I think as a country, the heritage, we celebrate all the 3. We have wonderful monuments, as the Tanjavur 1000 temple, the temple and all that. They've all built by hands, not just thought, but hands. So this idea that the skill development is something new to India, is something not has always been around. But what has changed today, sir, is when we have talk of skill development, today there is will. And that will comes from the leadership of our Prime Minister and his vision that Bharat should become the Vishwaguru, Atmanirbhar Bharat. So in that sense, this Gyan Prayag, I hope, has given the right message, especially with the COVID and we hear a lot of negative news. I hope it gives positive message. As again, I know we are a spiritual country, but as Swami Vivekananda said, it's very futile to preach Vedanta when people are hungry. And so right now we need jobs, we need skill upgradation, we need. And so again, to quote Vivekananda, now we have to arise, awake, stop not till the goal is reached. And we don't need an example more than Dr. Gulshan Sharma. He is always awake, he's always arising, and he wants to work very hard for this goal, sir. So all of this confluence of wonderful people has meant that we have had a great deliberation. Now the future becomes, and there are miles to go before we can all sleep. And now the challenges are there. Sure, with the thoughts and the noble sentiments that all the speakers give us, we are all very empowered and we are very encouraged to go further. So my gratitude to each of them, very busy people, to even get 10 minutes from each of them is so hard. All of them coming together, giving us this Gyan Prayag. We are all blessed. So Sharmaji, thank you. And I also am so glad that I could play a little bit of a Mangalachar and I could do the Mangalam at the end. With that, thank you so much. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you. Gulshanji, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Vivek Shankar Natarajanji. You are always positive and so much of enthusiasm and energy. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we close today's session, while conveying my deepest gratitude and thanks to all of you for having been our strength since morning for all the 7 sessions, and my great thanks to Professor Dr. Jagdish N Shethji and Professor Anil Sahasrabuddheji. Having just got down from the flight, he was here and almost he has given 1 hour and 55 minutes for this session. Dr. Nirmalji Singh Kalsiji and everybody. So at the end, wherever you are, whosoever you are, even if you don't know the language, music has got no language. I'll just play the karaoke, but you got to sing at your own. You may be a bathroom singer, you may be any singer, that doesn't make a difference as long as you have a spirit of singing. Because Professor Sheth Saab had music, handicraft and gardening and painting in his school. So let him also remember all the way, we go to Sikandar-e-Azam and we will just remember from there. I will just try and see if I can play it over here. जहाँ डाल डाल पर सोने की चिड़िया करती है बसेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा. जहाँ सत्य अहिंसा और धर्म का पग पग लगता डेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा। ये धरती जहाँ पर ऋषि मुनि जपते प्रभु नाम की माला, जहाँ हर बालक एक मोहन है और राधा एक बाला, और राधा एक बाला, जहाँ सूरज सबसे पहले आकर डाले अपना डेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा। जहाँ गंगा जमुना कृष्ण और कावेरी बहती जाए,
दक्षिण पूर्व पश्चिम को अमृत पिलवाए, ये अमृत पिलवाए।
कहीं तो देखो फल और फूल केसर कहीं बिखेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा। I think that much is enough. We might not be knowing it, but agar spirit hai, anything is achievable in our life and in this universe. So ladies and gentlemen, with that spirit, with that devotion, with that dedication, हम नम्न हैं अपने भारत को, अपनी मातृभूमि को, अपने देश को, और हम समर्पित हैं AICTE को, NCVET को, प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर जगदीश एन शेठ जी को और प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर विवेक एस नटराजन जी को। आप जल्दी से अपना माइक अनम्यूट कर दीजिए प्रोफेसर विवेक शंकर जी, और जाते जाते परमात्मा को याद करके एक प्रेयर कीजिए, और उसके बाद हम इस प्रोग्राम को फिनिश करेंगे। एक प्रेयर आपकी तरफ से।
ओम सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। सतो मा सद्गमय, तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय, मृत्योर्मा अमृतंगय, अमगमय। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते, पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम।
बहुत बहुत आभार सभी का।